What's good, everybody? We are back for an episode of the Humankind podcast. I'm not even sure if that's what I'm gonna call it, to be honest with you, but we're just talking with homies who have something important to share. And Alana is one of the friends that I've met, kind of re-met, I guess, recently. We knew each other like kind of from high school, and it's just kind of gotten to a point where I feel like social media has just reconnected a bunch of people. And so she's been somebody who's really been supportive, especially in my journey, kind of trying to relearn about myself, right? Understand this world, this crazy world we're in. And she's always just been kind of like been a supportive person. So I reached out and we decided that we were going to talk about authenticity and figuring out how we can become more ourselves, especially in this era when everything is kind of performance based. And so I just wanted to kick this over to you and just ask, what is your background, maybe why you wanted to talk about this, where you're at now, and just give the people a little bit of a insight into who Alonna Williams is.
Okay, so for me, this really kind of kicked off. I think I don't know if it like kicked off, but it's just things that I think about. And I was on social media, I think, when Ahmad, I don't know how to pronounce his last name,
Yeah.
was killed. And everybody's like sharing all this stuff. And I'm like, oh, maybe I should share something. But I didn't actually want to. So I was just like doing it. I was thinking to do it just because everybody else was doing it. And I was like, like you don't have to do that. Like that's not, you don't even want to do this. Like these are just social media people. Like most of us aren't even gonna do anything past post. So I'm just like, yeah, that's just not me. So I'm just gonna, be engaged, but I don't have to share stuff if I don't want to. So I'm just thinking like, like why do we feel the pressure and the need to perform for people who most of the time don't even really care? And it's just like kind of just like there's a study that was done, and there was like a guy was like wearing like an embarrassing shirt or something like that, and he overestimated the amount of people that would actually pay attention to what he was doing, like his shirt. And I'm like thinking like people really just don't really care.
We're
They're
all
not
in
really
our
paying that
own
much attention
worlds.
to you.
I think we all kind of
Yeah,
in
so
this fake celebrity mindset where we think that people care,
yeah.
but really they don't.
So it's just like, just be yourself, like most people aren't even paying that much attention to you.
Yeah.
Even if you do, like, make mistakes, have a stain on your shirt or something like that. Like, it's just like, why am I even putting so much energy to try to be a certain way or worry about this when most people don't even notice? So just be yourself.
That's very true. And so where are you at right now? I know we've kind of convened in the Homewood, like South Chicago area, but now I am in Brighton, or not even Brighton anymore. I'm in Buckinghamshire, UK, and you are
I am in South Florida.
South Florida. So what has that difference been like moving from Chicago to South Florida and everything with that?
So I think that it's helped me be more relaxed and not so rushed. And I've slowed down a bit into enjoying my surroundings, like just enjoy, like, looking at taking a walk, or, even if I am going on my way to do something, I'm not so like, I have to be here. Like in Chicago, when you're working downtown, it's like, go, 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 go. Even if you're after work and you don't have anything to do, it's just go, go, go. I have to catch this train. I have to do this. I have to do this.
Yeah,
And
that's
like down
true.
here, it's like, even if I am on my way to go somewhere, I'm just chilling. So it's not as stressful. And
That's
I
interesting.
just like, I'm just way more go with the flow.
I like that. So do you think that in terms of where we are, like in terms of our environment, that kind of can impact our state of mind too? Because I guess you kind of hit
Yeah.
on that a bit, but
Oh, absolutely.
yeah.
Um, hold on. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Uh, I don't know if people want to have trigger warnings, but I'm going to mention suicide.
Mm,
Um, I definitely think that your environment can definitely affect like your moods. Like, like how you have seasonal affective disorder. One of the reasons
yeah.
why I did move down here is because I don't like all the gray. I don't like the cold. Like it really affects my mental state negatively. So I need like the sun and stuff like that. And like, just for example, like I went to I interned in DC like 5 years ago now for a summer, and like my first week there was like suicide attempts, um like on the train, like people jumping onto the train, onto the tracks.
Damn.
And like the first week, because so the trains were all backed up. It's like twice, 2 in 1 week. And I'm asking my cousin, like, is that normal here? Like, is this what people like?
This
He's
is
like, it's
DC.
not unusual because of like the environment there.
Yeah.
And sometimes that can really, if it's not good for
Wow.
you, it can really just wreak havoc on you, honestly. So for me, I know I need to have sun.
Yeah.
So for me to
That's
like
good.
function.
Be
So
self.
it definitely, yeah, because you have to worry about so many other things. I can't worry about what the weather is like outside. Like that's too much for me. I need it to be, for me, I feel happiest when it's warm and I can feel the sun, and I feel like the humidity is like a hug from nature. Like that's how I feel about it. Like that's just me. Some people hate the hot weather. They need to be cold.
Yeah.
Like I think at least try to get somewhere where the weather isn't bothering you, so you can focus on other stuff.
Yeah. No, that can even be like a bit of a microcosm of this whole other situation, or not situation, but this topic of authenticity and being true to ourselves in performance. Because I feel like sometimes we don't have that self-awareness about what is affecting us in terms of
Mm-hmm.
how, like, what's impacting the way we act. So we think that we're doing things out of whatever, but in reality it's a lot of our environment. You can go ahead and
Yeah.
cough. It's okay if you need
Oh
to.
no, I
Oh,
don't know what's going on.
oh, sorry.
I didn't have to cough. Sorry, I was just listening to you.
Okay, no worries, no worries. But yeah, no, I think that kind of, I guess, jumping off that is when you find yourself, like when you've kind of built that self-awareness to know, okay, this is what helps me, this is what doesn't, and kind of working through that. I think, I don't know, what is the way that you would, some advice you might give to people in terms of working through that self-awareness process? And I think sometimes you can relate that even to childhood traumas, right? Like labels you
Yeah.
had as a kid, or experience you had growing up in your environment, all these things kind of coalesce to make you into this version of you that you are today. And so growing
Yeah.
into a new version, what do you think?
I feel like for me, self-awareness comes natural.
Mm.
So I
That's
would, cause I'm really, I'm really like in tune with how I feel.
okay.
Like a lot of times I feel my emotions, and most people do. They probably don't even notice it, but I feel my emotions in my body. So
Uh,
like I can feel it, like in my body. Like if I'm like tense or uncomfortable or
mm,
I don't know. So I think those things come naturally to me. But I think that if you need advice or help to become more self-aware, um, definitely have feedback from your friends. Like I know when I was like a teenager, I was a freaking just so horrible to my mother. And like those things, like the
aren't we
people are
all
telling
though?
like so sad. But
Oh,
you're making people upset. Like and you
yeah,
kind of like why are people reacting to me this way? It's not just one person. It's just like multiple people are reacting to me this way. So like for me, it was like the way I said things, my tone
yeah,
that people don't really like. So that's where the whole performance and authenticity thing is a balance for me. It's because this is like people, we have to deal with people in our lives, and you love them and you respect them, so you don't want them. And if you have a message that needs to be heard, you need to adjust it,
yeah,
and you can't just say it the way you want to say it. And that, I think,
yeah,
like having feedback from people outside of you that can start the self-awareness train. Also like mindfulness, just taking, that's one of the things that helped me down here. Like just because I'm slowing down, you're more mindful about how you're feeling your body.
yeah.
And so
I think
um
mindfulness is almost like feedback from yourself in a weird way.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because you're finally like slowing down, taking a breath and being in the moment, like how am I feeling right now?
Yeah,
And I guess those are like the two things. I think like having external feedback from
like
people, and but also you have to be humble enough to take it too,
that.
because
Yeah,
sometimes people will tell you something over and over, and then you
you don't.
don't get it until you get it.
Yeah, that's a problem I got. I'm not gonna lie. See, you said that you are naturally self-aware. I am on the opposite end of whatever spectrum that is, because I will just personally, I just say things like, I just kind of react a lot. Like I've had to really learn to be more intentional with pausing, with meditating, with being mindful, because my
Yeah.
natural tendency is to do the opposite. It's like whatever I feel is right in that moment, right? And that, like, as I kind of told you even before we jumped on the interview, is like one of the things I do struggle with is feeling things deeply. Like a lot of times I'll try to
Oh
compartmentalize
yeah.
my thoughts and just kind of push it off to the side, and that's not healthy either. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think how I process emotion is the same way. It's like I intellectualize it,
Mm.
and I like try to find a logic behind it, but emotions aren't always logical.
Hmm.
But I think this past year, my journey has led me to feeling my emotions, like actually feeling them, instead of just like just in my mind, like, oh, I'm mad
Yeah.
about this. Oh, I'm mad, but actually letting it feel in your body. And I think someone was talking about emotions and how, if you let yourself feel it for like 90 seconds, it will in your body, it will like pretty much like kind of go through
I know
and
what you mean.
just
Yeah.
like let
Just
it
let it
go.
work its
But
course.
if you just like hold on to it or you don't feel it, it's just gonna wreak havoc.
Yeah, no, that's a
Really.
really good point, because what happens, I think, almost like it's almost physical. Like you have an emotion, and it's almost like if you don't address it, what happens is that becomes a part of your subconscious. Like it
Hmm.
becomes a part of your natural just being, and it doesn't really, like, you integrate that whatever negative thing is into your, into your person. And if you don't let that
Yeah.
thing go, it can become like you can just keep piling on top of it, and then before you
Yeah.
know it, you're acting like something that you don't really want to be.
Right. And like those types of things affect your perception and how you perceive people
Yeah.
and how you think people or what they mean, like when they speak to you, like all of that. And like I think I posted something about projection. Like everyone's
Mhm.
projecting all the time. And sometimes you definitely need to recognize that and not take it in. Like if you're a person that bottles up your emotions, that's gonna affect how you interact with people, because you're gonna think that maybe people are always attacking you when they're not. They're just like just talking to you.
Yeah.
And speaking to the choir, haha. But
We both teaching
just
ourselves and each other. It's a good thing.
yeah, it's just stuff like that, or like just somebody just said something. I think one time I was with one of my friends and I was just joking, and she thought I was attacking her all night, and I'm just like, no,
Mhm.
I was just making jokes. If you didn't like the jokes, I'm sorry, I won't make those types of jokes anymore.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So like even like if you're like upset with your friend and you don't want to say anything, and so everything that they say to you, you're probably going to take as a problem because you have
Yeah.
an issue with them that you haven't
It's annoying
like
automatically.
hashed out. Example, Molly and Issa, if you guys watch Insecure, like they're not meshing and they have an issue with each other, and just the way that they talk to each other, they're just taking it like as a problem, like, and it could just be something simple or a
What
joke,
season is
and
that
you're
show
just
on
like,
now?
huh?
What season is that show on now?
4. It's on 4, I think.
Okay, I gotta
But
catch.
this what the season's about. It's about like friends kind of like not um like gosh,
I don't know. I
they're
feel
not
like it's
really
really good.
hashing out their issue with each other. They're just like both irritated and mad at each other, and like they're not able to talk about it, and that's just like wreaking havoc on their friendship. And
Mhm.
that can be a thing because you're projecting all the time. One
Yeah,
thing you need to remember: everybody's always projecting, and they
everybody
have
is
their
always
perceptions.
protecting. Yeah, if y'all never
So
take it,
sometimes you have to be patient,
yeah,
but also keep your boundaries. Don't let people like do
mm,
wild things,
that's
like
important.
say
That's very
certain
important.
things.
Very, very important is to keep those boundaries, and be
Yeah,
healthy
that's
with.
important.
Yeah, but I think just that resonated with me, what you just said. Everybody's projecting, and it's like this constant state of performance. Like you're always trying to look a certain way for some certain person or
Yeah.
certain people, and that can do a number on you. Like that can really hold
Some
you.
people, yeah, for sure. Like if they feel like they need to have a certain type of job or a certain type of education at a certain school, or
Restrict.
wear certain clothes, like that can, if you don't watch yourself and you get caught in that web, it's not gonna be pretty once you
It's
break
not.
down. You're
Yeah.
gonna break down eventually because you're not being yourself. I mean, if you are that person, that's cool, but if you're not,
No, for sure. That's kind of what I wanted to get across, like the core message of like the little book that I just wrote was kind of like about that idea of the labels we take on and trying to figure out through the whole process of growing up, like who you really are. And I think a lot of
Yes.
people haven't really gone through that process.
Yeah, I remember like growing up, people would call me like shy or um I think I know everything, like a know-it-all or
Oh
whatever. Because like
yeah.
I like to take in information and share it, and if it doesn't make sense to me, I'm gonna say that's wrong. So you have a 10-year-old kid saying stuff like that, like and adults, which is just kind of messed up. Adults should not be calling children know-it-all like at all. Like that just shouldn't even be a thing.
Yeah, like adults really need
But
to watch their mouths too, because I think it's a lot of self-talk that they just accepted in their own lives that they take on.
yeah,
And they're projecting a lot of that onto the next generation. And
onto kids, yes, and like or like yeah. So I'm just like one day I think I was in college. Like, I'm not actually shy. I actually talk to people, and I don't mind talking to people. I just take a while for it to warm up to you, just watching you, to see which side of me I feel like expressing towards you.
oh,
But
oh,
or like like I'm not. I was like I'm not a know-it-all. I never thought I was a know-it-all. I thought that was always confusing to me because I never thought that I was smart. I just thought that I was like I worked hard and everybody could do it.
I like that.
so So that was just a confusing label to me. I'm just sharing what I learned. That's what I do. Like I learned that's how I process information. That's how I remember it. Like I like to share
Yeah.
it with people.
Yes, that's the best way to learn is to teach it.
It
But
really is. Yeah.
all right.
Or to talk about it.
And it really helps you internalize it like in a new way. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's kind of what, in a weird way, the project, this podcast, in a sense, is helping. I don't know. In a selfish way, it's actually helping me just hash out what I really think so that I can almost put it out there and then figure out if it's true or not. Like actually
Mm-hmm.
speaking those things out loud gives you like a new level
Yeah.
of criticism that you can like now identify what thoughts are a little bit toxic, which ones are a little bit helpful. You know what I mean?
Right. There's
But
no there's
I guess I
no
wanted to like I do want to respect your time. I know you got some stuff to do today, but I wanted to end on like a one, maybe two questions depending on how we answer them. But I think one of the practical things that, or at least one of the things I want to do too with these conversations is kind of end on something practical that people can kind of walk away with of like, this is something that I feel like I can do today. And so if you were to take in all the things we talked about, the lessons about authenticity, about projecting, about just loving yourself, awareness, all those things, and maybe condense it into something that people can say, okay, this is how I can be more authentic in my life today. What would that look like?
I think that you have to remember that your identity changes over time. Like things that are important to you now might not be important to you in 5 years or whatever. So allow yourself to shed old things that don't serve you anymore. Like don't try to get stuck into something and then try to fit into this box. And then 5 years later, like you can change and allow yourself to change.
Yeah.
And just like kind of stay, I would say, like what's true to you, like think about what's true to you in this moment. Like what do you want to do? Like what are you working towards right now? And are you? Do you want to? Like, and if you don't want to, why are you?
Yeah.
Like explore those parts and like think so you can live your life like the way you want to live it. Like of course with there's gonna be like different constraints because everyone's like life is different. Like you might have kids or
Yeah.
money is always an issue or
Always.
location. But like like if you want to get there, I would like write those things down, like like what is my interest today, and like what do I want to do, like how do I want to live my life. And if it's not matching up, make it match up. Like
Oh,
try, I mean, and don't expect it to happen like tomorrow.
yeah, that's
Because
a
we do
process, but
that
you do have to
instant
make it.
gratification. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think like I don't know, I think you really have to sit down with yourself and just like kind of really think. For me, stuff comes through writing and through
Mm.
like walking around and like listening to like some music. So some albums that are more like they're more of like people spilling out their emotions.
Like
So like
therapeutic.
one of the things that I write, yeah, therapeutic, thank you. I really like to think about Life to Bigger by Beyonce.
Hmm.
And Haley Williams' Petals for Armor, her album, like goes through her like
Titles
whole
for
like,
armor. Okay.
yeah, it's really good.
Okay.
And I just like think to those songs
Yeah.
and make sure, everything's still lining up, and those kind of spark thoughts for me. But also just take time to sit down and think and get to know yourself, and just like, where am I at? Kind of do like a personal inventory. Like, is my life going in the direction that I want it to go? If it's not, why? And
Yeah.
how can I change it? Like, if you can do that today, just do that little exercise, and it will really help
Boom.
you
That's
to know
really good.
yourself.
I love it. I love it. Because especially with that whole, like the feedback loops we were talking about, with just figuring out who you are. Like you have the external ones, but then you also have the internal ones where you're just kind of sitting with yourself and figuring out what it is that you really want. And if we never
Yeah,
really do that, we can just float through life without any bearing.
there's a book that really helped me. It was called, one second, one
Go
second.
find it. Go find it. Let me pause this.
Hold on, I'm trying to find it because it was very helpful.
Okay, no worries. What kind of book was it? Was it like a
It
fiction?
was like a self-help book,
Okay.
but it had like journal prompts.
Oh, I like that. I feel like the journal prompts are what make you actually learn things, because sometimes self-help is like cool, it's advice, but like how do I make it apply to me?
Right. I'm trying to, this is, because my friend gave me the journal and it came with the book, and I bought the book, but I can't find the title of the book. Where will you be 5 years from today? Hold on.
Is that the title? Oh, that's the journal prompt.
I think. Okay, yeah, I got it.
All right, go
Do you
crazy.
want to?
Yeah.
Okay, so the book that really helped me is called The Five Book. Where will you be 5 years from today?
The
And it comes. You can also get the journal. My friend gave me the journal first, and I'm not sure if she knew that there was a book that went through with it. And
Yeah.
I did. The book is very short. You can do it like, I think I did like maybe a couple prompts a day, and I was done in like a couple weeks. But it really kind of helped me focus on what I wanted. And going back, I think I did it 2 years ago, and going back and reading it, I'm still on the right path, but I kind of adjusted it. So
That's a
like, I think
good
at
way
the
to.
time I wanted to do like law school,
Yeah.
but the end game was to work for like a human rights organization. And there's more than one way to get there. So like, I was doing the LSAT and all that stuff. And then at one point I was just like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be in school for 3 years. I don't want to study for the bar. I don't want to do any of that. Where is there another avenue I can get to where I want to go? And there was.
There you
Kind of
go.
just popped up. So
I think
I'm
that's
going to
good to know.
school
Yeah.
abroad for international development, and working with, it's basically a program that's working in tandem with the UN. So I'm very excited. I leave in
That's hell
September,
yeah.
moving to Madrid.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like so wild how it happened. It was so like quick and fast. It's like, was this divine timing? Like, like it was
But those are the
how it
things that only
happened. How I
happen when
found
you
it was random. They had a whole whatchamacallit, Miami office. They had a Miami office, and they were having an information session like that next week. And I went, and I loved it. And they invited me to their alumni Christmas party, so I was able to talk to more alumni. Like, and I got in. They gave me a scholarship. So it happened very quick. It was like kind of crazy
I feel
because
like
I applied in.
a lot of those
I
things
applied in
only
like,
happen when you really know what your end game is. Like what you just said
mm,
with knowing the end goal. Like if you didn't really know what you were aiming for, then it'd be
yeah,
easy to kind of be like, should I take it? Should I not? Like not really knowing, but having that clear cut, like
yeah,
understanding where you want to go helps you make decisions along the way.
for sure, for sure. Like, and that's like kind of how I got away from myself. Like, I wanted to do that like out of undergrad, but I was so
Yeah,
exhausted from being in school. I needed a break.
I feel it.
I started working, and I'm just like in a job. I'm like, what am I even doing? Let me get back on track. So yeah, this book would definitely recommend that
The
if you
five
want
book,
to take
right?
your, yeah, it's um the five journal,
The
and the
five
book is
book.
called where will you be 5 years from today? It's on. You can
I
get it
love
on
it.
Amazon.
I'm gonna put it in the description for the folks listening. I'll like link it. Hopefully, I like find it on
Yeah,
Amazon or something, and then they can just go ahead and check that out.
that's good.
But again, yo, thank you so much for taking the time and just coming on and hopping, chopping up today. Anything else you wanted to maybe touch on before we get off?
Oh, I would like to say this. I wrote some notes.
Ooh, I like it.
um,
Organized.
really get to know yourself and figure out what feels right and what doesn't. What do you feel like you are holding on to by a thread? That will tell you what you don't need to be doing. If you feel
Mm,
like you are holding on to a thread, this dream is like, you need to really evaluate that. Like, are you holding on to a thread because you really want it and it's just nothing is working out? Or like,
yeah,
it's like you don't really want to do it, but everyone around is telling you to do it and you value
yeah.
those people's opinions. I don't really value that many people's opinions about my life. So I never had that issue, but sometimes people do, and that is
People
okay.
struggle with that. People really do struggle with that. I've learned not to either, but it is one of those things.
Yeah,
But I hear
many
you.
people
That's a
didn't
really
want me
good
to
point.
move to Florida, who don't want me to move abroad. I can't, you know what? That's cool, but
It's
I
like,
know I'm
cool,
gonna be
bro.
unhappy if I don't.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do what you got to do. I actually had a quote for
And
you too. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Say what you have to
oh,
say.
the label that you have internalized, does it make you feel like you have to perform? Does it make you feel anxious? Does it make you feel uneasy? If you can relate to these things, it may be time to shed it if it's no longer serving you. You should feel at ease with yourself. If you don't, it's time to find out why and bring it back to your balance. Use your emotions as a guide. Like don't like
Each.
don't like act on them unless you have to, but definitely use them as a guide. Like if you're feeling anxious, uneasy, something's not right.
Yeah. No, that's for sure. I think we forget that our gut and our I don't know, it's like it's the oldest part of ourselves in some ways, and it's taken in a lot of information over the years that we've been evolving. And so when you feel something, there's usually some credence to it. Like it doesn't mean just
Yeah.
immediately go with that what that feeling is, but that gut feeling
Yeah.
can almost be like a indicator of what might be. And I think we should learn a little bit more how to read those and understand ourselves in that. The quote I wanted to end with, this is actually from Sigmund Freud, who I'm not the biggest fan of, to be honest. But
Neither.
I saw the quote and I was like, dang, this is actually true. So I guess I'll just say it. It is impossible to escape the impression of people commonly, or it is impossible to escape the impression that people commonly use false standards of measurement. And to me, that just kind of spoke to the fact that I think a lot of times when we're even talking about who we are or what we want to become and the idea of success, right? Like our the way we measure success is oftentimes determined by somebody
Monetary
else. Yeah, well, yeah,
or
monetary
someone
usually.
else.
And it's just
Yeah.
like this external barometer that has nothing to do with our actual level of happiness or feeling like we're in a good place. And so I just wanted to end with
Right.
that too. And just in terms of when you're actually trying to measure out how successful you are, or how successful you want to become, like try to make it based in something that is
Measure it
internal.
against yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
yeah. You don't want to get stuck
Yeah.
in that
That getting
belief.
stuck is not fun. I'm gonna tell y'all
Yeah.
firsthand, don't do it.
Don't do it. Don't
Don't
do it,
do it.
guys.
Keep going.
Be
Keep
yourself.
moving. Keep on swimming. Be you. Um, yeah, I think that was a really good
Swimming.
combo. Got some good, get some good nuggets in there. I'm gonna go back through and just kind of maybe add a little I don't know, intro and
Edit it.
stuff. But yeah, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for taking the time. I'm
No
gonna end this
problem.
recording now.